Welcome to Conversations with Khulisa Mfazi. Today I've got Keabetswe Khutsoane with us. I'm really, really excited to have her here. I think for all my humanities baddies, this episode is for you. So let's just go into her bio real quickly. I just need to read it. Keabetswe is a dedicated researcher, social scientist, and transformation specialist whose educational and professional journey has been focused on critical matters pertaining to gender and sexuality, social justice, and global healthcare. With a commitment to driving positive change in these spheres, she brings a lot of expertise and a passion for creating a more inclusive and equitable world. Keabetswe's work stands as a testament to her unwavering dedication to the advancement of these vital areas of study and practice. Just to also put you into how Keabetswe attained this, Keabetswe holds a bachelor's degree from the University of Wits in political science, majoring in anthropology. She's also embarked in an honors degree in political science, majoring in developmental studies, which was followed by a master's degree in political science and law. Like I said, for my humanities baddies, stay tuned. This one is for you. Keabetswe, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to
I'm
be
so
here.
glad that you're here. Let's start with just your career and how your academic journey and how it linked with your career and some of the, vital things that you learned from this journey.
Okay. So, my academic journey was not an easy one. Actually started off easy. Undergrad was great. Post-grad, I decided to start having children. So those were a little bit of hiccups that I encountered along the way. But for some reason, I did well still. So I was on a scholarship that was meant to be a year long.
Okay.
But unfortunately, like I said, I fell pregnant, which was something that I planned, side note.
Awesome.
But what happened is that my academics really took a strain. So a degree that was meant to take me a year to complete took 6 years.
Oh, man.
And as a person that really, is very proud about my academics, I'm an A student.
Yeah.
I really took a knock. I think my confidence, but
Yeah.
I think because I continued working, I kind of justified the fact that, no, you know what, you'll be fine.
At least I'm working.
It's just this dissertation that is not coming through. So it wasn't easy raising my children, balancing a household, and at the same time trying to work, trying out business, it not working out.
Yeah.
I think after 6 years, that's only now, that I've submitted my paper.
And well done.
Thank you. It was not easy. And I say this because a lot of people come to me and say, but Keabetswe, you do so much. How do you do it? But it wasn't an easy journey. I felt like a loser along the way. So many times falling, starting all over again, changing subtopics. It wasn't easy. And I mentioned my scholarship because this was a scholarship with A students, right? And again, questions like, how did you manage to, actually do this? And I'm there, but nothing to show for it, So it wasn't easy, but made it.
Let's talk a little bit about that because I feel like we can't just scheme over it. That time when you were balancing having a baby, trying to complete your studies.
A lot of failed businesses.
How did you really pick yourself up? Because I think, it feels like you're alone. It feels very lonely. It feels hard. It feels, I can't imagine. I can't even begin to imagine. But how did you pick yourself up from some of those lows?
So I kind of justified the fact that I wasn't doing well academically because I'm a mom. So it comes with, I guess, slacking in certain areas. But like I mentioned, being a top achiever, it really took a knock off, my confidence. But I justified it so long. 6 years. That's ridiculous.
6 years long. No judgment.
6 years is ridiculous. So I needed to have an honest conversation with myself and say, Gia, this is not working out, Sissy. You need to stop making excuses and just pick up yourself. How I picked up myself, I kind of held myself accountable. And I think, I centered my kids around that accountability. So I need to be a mom that is a boss babe for my kids.
Absolutely.
I need to get that PhD for the sake of my kids. I need to improve my lifestyle every day. Life story. I would wake up. I am a mom. I can just wake up at 11 because I'm a mom. I have a lot of my pay on my plate. If I do, you see, so it was a lot of things going on at one time, and it's always I'm a mom, and I reverse that. I'm a mom, therefore I need to finish this because I have people that are looking at me, people that I need to make proud. My kids, I live for my kids, so I needed to, kind of flip that and do what I needed to do for the sake of my children. So they became that motivation that I needed to complete.
That is amazing. That is amazing. And then let's talk about, this big topic that took you 6 years to complete. What was your topic, and how was the journey just publishing that dissertation?
So the topic changed a lot.
Yeah.
I started off interested in marital rape.
Oh, cool.
I can't remember what sparked that interest, but for 2 years, I invested my time in researching that. I think professionally, in the space that I'm in, that those 2 years really equipped me with a lot of knowledge. Yeah. Unfortunately, I didn't end up writing the paper on that, on the topic, but so that was 2 years gone.
Yeah.
Then the third year, I was just in limbo. And within those 6 years, there's a time where I also became the chairperson of the Postgrad Association at WITS,
awesome.
Which is equivalent to the SRC, but just for postgrad students.
Yeah.
And I was a representative on the SRC for the postgrad students.
Awesome. Okay.
And other portfolios that I sat in. One of 2 students that sat at council. So that was cool. And that year was just dedicated to that.
Oh, cool.
And then I think in my 4th year, that's when I had this conversation with myself. Yeah, you've got these marks. You're a registered student. First, you were registered via coursework, and then you drop it, and then you're registered in a different different faculty, in a different department, and then you're dropping. So the transcript is not looking great, but you're still a 70 student. So what are we doing?
Yeah.
Fortunately, I had a conversation with one of the lecturers at the time in the politics department. I'll never forget her. I think this is a woman that gave me a second chance.
Yeah.
Shireen Hassim. She had a scholarship named Intimacy and Care, and I work around that area. And she said, Kia, what's going on? And I sat in her feminism classes, so she knew what kind of student I was.
Yeah.
Kia, what's going on? Where are you? And I said, I'm really struggling. That is the first person in my spaces that I actually had an honest conversation with, and I told, I'm struggling. And she said, I wrote my PhD with 2 children on my lap. So it's not an excuse. Also, again, flipping that thing off, always having to blame my children being a mother for slacking. I had to flip it at that time. If she could do it, and she's just someone that is so respected in her industry, I could do it. So then she gave me a scholarship. Yes, I had the merits. It wasn't backdoor. It wasn't backdoor. I had the merits, got the scholarship. And again, I still slacked because I didn't have anyone holding my hand. I should add.
Yeah.
So research, doing your master's via dissertation is different from research and coursework.
Yeah.
I had completed all the coursework in my department. Some of them I audited. So I was like, this doesn't really speak to what I'm trying to do.
Yeah.
So applied for a master's by research, which is basically a mini PhD. You need to get the merits to for the university to trust that you could sit down, hold yourself accountable, and say, I'll complete this in a year. Because at that point, you're not going to school, you don't have classes, you don't have anyone really holding you accountable. When you're writing a paper via coursework, you have those classes where you meet your friends in the corridors. Where are you? I've just finished my methodology section. So there's a lot of people that can hold your hand. So I found myself alone, and also just not having. I wasn't ready. I wasn't ready, which made me slack. And then, I think in the 4th year, that's when, going back to your question, I decided on a topic. And honestly, I'm so proud of.
What was the topic?
I'm so proud of it. Every time I just think about, times where I sit down and I looked at what I was writing and I thought, but why am I not completing this? Because this is such important work, and I'm not just blowing my own horn. So I found this area in gender and sexualities that is underexplored. Actually, it's something that was not researched at all in South Africa. Sexual surrogacy therapy. So what that is imagine you're a person living with a disability, maybe physical disability, or you're a person that has transitioned from male to female. We just assume that such people can, just cope with this new body, and for a person living with a disability, they can't just walk into a bar like you and I, not that we do, but meet someone, have a great night. It doesn't work like that. So I was like, never mind the topic of let's decriminalize sex work, because that's overdone. We've made case studies for it. I mean, at this point, is it going to happen? Isn't it going to happen? But we've written extensively about 100%. This. So I was looking at an aspect of sex work, and I said, there is this particular space where we can appreciate sex work. And when I say that, is that there are sex workers that actually work specifically with people that are living with disabilities. Can we legalize that one aspect of sex work and make it a medical thing, a medical practice? And that's when I find myself, yes, I'm in a political space, like the politics department, but I found myself, reaching out to the law school, and I said, but is sex work, or is sex a human right? And that controversial. Okay, I've actually sat down with sex workers, and they actually do this work. So what does it mean ethically for me to come to the university and say, these are the people that I've interviewed, this is a sex worker? First of all, it's illegal work, and I'm actually exposing something that I think they're doing, which is brilliant. They might get into trouble. So I needed to
protect them too.
So now I'm finding myself jumping into theory of this industry, which I absolutely hated, because I'm one person that does not like desktop work. So I appreciated going to the spaces and talking to the sex workers and say, what is it that you do for people that are living with disabilities? And not so much people that have transitioned from male to female, female to male, like other countries, because I mean, it's something that hasn't been really explored in South Africa. Firstly, because just accessing that surgery is a nightmare, So but just having the theoretical background and the theory, and I mean the archive, to say this is something that is possible. This is something that I feel should be looked at legally, as well as a medical practice, or as a medical, something that can be offered to
just
people.
To hold that. We're going to come back to that. Like I did mention, you are literally, you're so excellent. Number one, you're so excellent. You're brilliant.
Thank you.
And this episode is literally for the humanities girls who believe that perhaps what they're studying, has no work. It has no value, and we've kind of been taught that, because
Oh,
even your
humanities
parents.
girlies.
I'm a humanities girly
Okay,
too. Yes,
I
yes,
love
yes.
it.
Kind of, even like our parents have
Yeah.
kind of said, hey, you can't just do a BA. You
Eh,
know what I
and
mean?
then-
And then what do you mean you're doing a BA in
In
anthropology?
anthropology.
What
And
is
then-
anthropology? Do you know what I'm saying? So what do you kind of say to that horrible stereotype? Ya gore, is it horrible, number one, as someone who has really extended your career in
this
humanities?
field, yeah.
Is it a horrible stereotype? Is it true? Is it false? And what kind of opportunities can
It's a horrible
humanities baddies
stereotype.
go in?
I have no time for that conversation, actually.
Yeah.
Because
So strict.
and the thing is, it's rooted in, oh, I studied law. I'm a lawyer.
Yeah.
I did accounting. I'm an accountant. So you did anthropology. You're an anthropologist, but really, what is that? Do you have I don't know, a council, an associate of anthropologists? Is that a real thing?
Yeah.
I hate that so much because it devalues not just our degrees, but I think because social sciences, we give so much of
so
ourselves.
important.
It's such a personal degree. It's not a numbers game. It's I specialize in human behavior because I specialize in it's a field that
It's
speaks-
psychological
Exactly.
also.
It speaks to the kind of person you are.
Yeah.
If you say I'm in the space of gender and sexualities, I can kind of understand why you took your time to be in that field.
100%.
You can make the same the same argument with a lawyer, and I'm so sorry to lawyers and accountants, but it's the closest thing that I can think of. But it takes away that the beauty of you can actually infiltrate any industry
Yeah.
with your BA degree, right?
Yeah.
And this is something that is evident in my life. I graduated and I'm a social scientist. What is that? If you don't, and the question, what is that, is not asked, but with interest.
It's
It's like,
asked,
what is that?
Galinga,
So it's like, okay, once you do that, I have no
Yeah.
time for you. We're not having that conversation.
100%.
But you know what? You work in a bank, I'm there. I am so there. You work in a hospital, I'm so there. I found myself, you can position yourself. And, with your BA, I always push for students to further their studies. Not to say
Yeah.
that with your undergrad, it's useless, no. But if you can reach that honors, if you can reach master's level,
important.
it can really propel you to spaces that, you would never imagine that you'd get into. So after I did my honors, like I said, yes, as much as I felt like I was a loser academically, I was thriving.
You're not a loser.
I was thriving in my professional career.
Yeah.
I found myself doing research around menopause.
Yeah.
And that was such important work because I learned so much, number one. Number two, sexual and reproductive health. It was a different aspect that I
Yeah.
felt like we're not really talking about so much. Always harabwagadi, sexual reproductive condoms, contraceptives. We've heard all of that. But now menopause, we don't really talk about it.
Yeah.
Why? And I realized how many young people are actually going through menopause without them actually knowing, premenopausal and
100%. Yeah.
So I found that, okay, this is a space that I can actually explore. But I found myself, yes, as much as I was just doing this menopause work, it was within, from a medical perspective, right?
Yeah.
I worked with people from the University of Bristol.
Awesome.
I worked with just,
Brilliant
VET, UKZN, and it was just amazing to the extent that, the Department of Health nationally published my wasn't a paper, but it was like info pamphlet.
Yeah.
It was like a 16-pager.
16 pages is a lot.
I know, and it
Okay.
was disseminated throughout Gauteng and other provinces. We got it translated in 6 languages, so it was made available online, and just the opportunities that came from that. Just yesterday, I was somebody reached out on LinkedIn saying, we've come up with a platform for women women living with menopause, but women in that stage. So we'd like to know how, just give us information. What have you found?
Yeah.
And the experience for Black and white women, how is it different?
Yeah.
So that's been amazing. At the same time, found myself working in orthopedics. So I do
Awesome.
research for this orthopedic, and I work with doctors. And I'm like, how the hell did I get myself here? Work with doctors doing research on hip fractures. So, I mean...
Let's hold this.
Okay.
Right, let's hold that. So, talking about doctors, you
Yes.
work with doctors in orthopedics.
Yes.
How have you asserted yourself in that space to say, I belong in this space, and hello Nyadza, you guys are not going to look down on me. This is my space. How have you affirmed yourself, especially as a young Black woman?
Yeah.
How have you really asserted yourself in that space?
So firstly, I found this niche area where, as a social scientist, you can come in as a researcher.
Yeah.
And yes, as much as my work is rooted around social sciences, once any industry that works with human and people, a social scientist will find you there, and I think companies that invest their time and their resources to have people like us actually they flourish. That's how I see it. I found myself in these spaces because, Barry, you are a quantitative researcher. We know the numbers, but we really don't. I'm a doctor, but I really can't relate to people the way you would.
Sure.
A psychologist would, a social worker would,
Sure.
from not just the having the knowledge of talking to people and, understanding people, but just from a professional background. You
Yeah.
actually have the skill to do that. So, for me, I came in as, I'm a researcher. I've got the skill. Whether I'm doing research in hip fracture studies, a FEMA, whether I'm doing research for a bank, whether I'm doing research for menopause.
You're
I've got the skill.
researcher.
I've got the skill that you don't have, So that's how we position ourselves. Essentially, I guess social scientists are also social scientists. Sorry, I've got a lisp.
It's okay.
That I struggle with. As long as there's people, assert yourself. What skill do you have? So the thing is, once you get to postgrad level, right, you find something that you're interested in.
Yeah.
For me, it was gender and sexualities, right? And from that standpoint, like the paper that I'm writing, it's a case study. I'm doing a constitutional test on, sex work in South Africa.
Yeah.
From a legal perspective, I'm challenging the Constitution, and I'm saying, can we look at this? And at the same time, from a public health perspective,
Can we look at that?
Is this not something that you think should be offered in our public health system,
Yeah.
And I'm making a political case as well. So that's how, with social sciences, you can actually merge all these worlds that you like, right? You package yourself as this researcher in those in those
100%.
fields, but yes, centered around politics. So if I was interested in economics, I would have done, yes, gender, but let's look at the economics of, gender. I guess there's a lot of things that you could talk about. A lot of people have this thing, oh no, it's a gay relationship, it's two guys, so the income is strongnyana. It's a stupid example, but that's
how people think.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
you can explore that. I mean, the opportunities are countless.
Let us pause on career and academic chat, and let's talk about you, who Keabetswe is, outside of work.
Okay.
Who are you? What do you like? And I know you're a mom.
Yes.
So how has the mom life been treating you?
Yeah. Keabetswe is just a 30-year-old.
Sure.
I was born in Hammanskraal.
Okay.
I lived there for 18 years of my life. raised Kiengwana Kuku. I was raised by my grandmother. I moved to Johannesburg to pursue my studies. Actually, I had the best of two worlds, if I may call it that, because my mom lived in Johannesburg, my grandmother Pitori, and then moved to Wits. What else? I'm just a fun person. I'm a sister.
This sounds like speed dating, like when they say, tell me about yourself.
I'm a sister to many. I'm a friend, good friend.
Awesome.
Man. I'm that friend in the group oiling macho everyone, So I'm kind of strict with the people around me, but it's all coming from a loving place. That's it. What else?
Your mom life.
My mom, the mom life. The mom life, maybe it's my personality at this point, which is so boring. But I think I've had kids for so long. I had my.
How old are you?
I've got a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old. I had.
Those are big
I'm
people.
30, so you can imagine my 20s were dedicated to raising my kids, which is something that I wanted.
Yeah.
My daughter, actually, I feel like she came late. I wanted her a bit earlier. But my 20s have been dedicated to just being a mother. And I was so intentional this year, turning 30, that the 30s, my 30s are mine. My 30s are mine.
What is it? The
dirty 30s,
yeah.
exactly. So you can make yourself a dinudo or whatever. These are my years. I've dedicated so much I've lost so many opportunities. Because of those kids, because of those kids, I've been MIA in the game because of those kids. So I think, and honestly, I've just been appointed as a lecturer.
Yes,
right?
yes, you're gonna get to that.
Oh, okay. I've just been appointed. And I feel like this. I didn't have a birthday party for my 30th, but for some reason I just knew something big is coming.
Yeah.
I will with money, money. But I felt like something big is coming. So this, for me, when it came, I was like, as an academic, this is the one thing that I needed, and it also affirmed my position in the space.
Well done.
And I felt like I was seen. I feel like I'm being seen. I feel like, when people actually listen to you and say, what else can you say? And I really appreciate it.
I'm so proud of you.
So I've that is my 30th birthday. And I think from now on, like I mentioned, my 30s are mine.
Yeah.
And so this is just, and from now, I think it's just going to go.
You have a son.
Yes.
Right? How have your studies, especially pertaining to gender and sexuality, kind of, even your girl child, to be honest, but I think I'm quite interested in how you raise the boy child, how it kind of links, how do you raise the boy child, and how have your studies kind of influenced how you raise your boy child?
Raising my son has been such, a challenge.
Yeah.
Firstly, because Keabetswe lapeng, where there aren't a lot of men or boys.
Yeah.
So that was challenge number one. I was young. And I don't have any male or father figures. I did not have, and I still don't have.
Yeah.
So that was a challenge. I get a bit emotional when I think about the journey of raising my kid, because my son, because
and he's first born,
because I did not have a father. I didn't know, what is it that.
What are boys?
What are boys, and what does it feel like to have a father? So with my son, I could offer him that motherly love, and thank God my partner, someone that is very active, but also Liena, he didn't have a father growing up. But he's got children that he's raised before our children, so he's got that practice. So with my son, it still is a bit of a challenge, because I'm learning, right, as I'm raising this child. And from, again, an academic point of view or perspective, I've done a lot of work around fatherlessness and what that means. And there's this one aspect of that literature that I fear, and that's just how young boys idolize certain people in their spaces. And unfortunately, I fear it because most of the time that literature is centered around violence and how it's so scary how young boys idolize men in their communities. And this is a child, a black boy, right?
Yeah.
Just imagine in the middle of Amanskrali, not having a father, picking up certain things from the streets. Like an active father, how it's so much, it's so easy. Exactly, it's so easy to pick up certain things because Motomo Cool at that age or as a teenager is somebody that normally is a rebel, you know,
100%.
In our community. So kids idolize those things. And like I mentioned, I fear that because it's always, the literature that I've read is always from a very negative point of view, right? And that scared me a lot, not having men in my life that I would love my child to look at and say, malume mang papa mama is exactly. So not having that and having actually the contrary was quite scary. And you know, I struggled with, do I teach him, but this is a 9-year-old, how far can I go? Or do I shield him from these kind of things? And what are the implications of not letting my child be around certain people or just be an active participant in society, because he might pick up certain things. So it's been a challenge. It's not easy. As he grows, I'm seeing him grow into this person that, you know, sometimes I don't recognize. Social media, he's not on social media, but I think whatever they watch, whatever they are exposed to at school. It's quite scary, but I think so far I'm doing a good job.
And I think you'll kill it.
Thank you. But I think from sometimes you just wonder whether, I mean, you know, there's no one that will tell you, no, you're actually doing a good job, but I hope I am.
I'm sure you are. I'm sure you are. We're going to wrap up really soon. Let's chat a little bit about your current appointment at one of the top universities and one of the top institutions in South Africa as a gender and sexuality lecturer. Yeah, your field, what you love, your first love, I guess. How has it been, number one? And number two, how were you kind of what are you going to change when you were in school, when you were in first year, sitting in that gender and sexuality lecture? What are you kind of going to change in terms of you as a lecturer versus the lecturers you had back then?
Interestingly, so this is, I want to say, the first department that has actually dedicated its work to gender and sexuality. A department. So you'd find institutes, you'd find courses that should actually be in gender and sexualities belonging to different sociology, politics, scattered around different departments. So sorry, not big departments, but different schools, right? Not schools. What is it?
Schools, like
not faculty, man. You know,
departments,
I guess. Exactly. Psychology, sociology. So it's just scattered around. So this is the first time, or this is the first that has all of these brought back and as a department, which is so powerful because. Why was it not like this? Because, I felt like it's scattered because people didn't see the need of having a department dedicated to this, this field. And it's quite disheartening, but I'm glad to be, it's just launched when, I think it's a very fairly, sometime this year. It's a fairly new department, just launched. So I'm very excited. I'm very proud to be part of this team of, game changers.
Absolutely.
It's been 2 days. So I'm still cleaning my office.
And let me tell you, when I called Kia to say we're doing this, she was in the elevator. I was like, oh, girl, you're definitely settling in.
Exactly. So it's been 2 days, but I'm quite excited. The coursework is already done. So there isn't an opportunity right now to actually, come up or conceptualize a course as yet, but that will happen maybe sometime next year. And I really want my course or whatever I'd be teaching at the time to be around gender and sexuality, minorities. So people living with disabilities, people that have undergone gender affirming surgery.
Exciting.
I think that's a space that I've excelled in.
Yeah.
I've started an academic archive. Like I mentioned, there hasn't been research around sexual surrogacy therapy in South Africa. That's something that I want to explore further with a PhD.
Awesome.
It's been
all the
it's
best.
been 2 days, so I'm still I haven't met the students yet, but I'm quite excited, and everyone is excited about this department. Everyone that
sounds exciting.
Someone in this field is excited. So very proud.
All the best.
Thank you.
Let's wrap up.
Yeah.
Last question, final question. What advice would you give to a young black girl who is really fighting to be heard and to be seen, especially actually a humanities young black girl who is fighting to be heard, who's fighting to be seen, and who's fighting to just really place themselves in a humanities career? What advice would you give to someone like that?
You know what? It's quite lonely. You know, humanities students.
Yeah, it makes you go a bit crazy.
I remember at that side, but those students, para makeup because we've got time. That's how they spoke about. And then
imagine.
Kiri lawyer, kiri accountant, ba busy. Banana kwadi makeup, rena para fashion to come to campus. You know, so it speaks a little bit about how basar is serious. But then, I just want to say, you know, as much as we are bubbly people, it can be a very lonely journey academically. And I've seen how also, I think outsiders treat us. So the scholarships are very limited, right? Some faculties, the problems are, racism. Those are big issues, but not to downplay it, but the money's there. Rena will fight the racism, bang, 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 we'll burn the faculty now, but the money is not there, you know? So I really wish, I'm not going to talk about that because that's quite political, but to the young girl in humanities that's fighting to be seen, that's fighting to be heard, open yourself up, right? You'll be so amazed to learn how many people are going through the same struggle. And I mentioned how it can be a lonely journey because sometimes, as much as we are so bubbly, we don't talk about our struggles. Yes, harina chalete, but it also goes beyond that, right? It goes beyond just not having, the financial resources. They're also underestimating what it is that I'm studying, right? Psychology is better because when I did clinical psychologist, whatever, for something, I've picked that up.
A doctor.
Exactly. But with these other disciplines within the School of Social Sciences, it can be difficult. Actually, humanities. So your actors, your people in music, it can be challenging. So find a group of people that are in the same boat, people that will inspire you, people that will push you, people that will share resources in this field. It's so important to open up yourself because you'll be so amazed how many people will open doors for you. I've gotten jobs because I went to that conference, I asked questions, I was engaging, and people remembered my name. So it's very important to open up yourself because there's so many of us.
That's also the thing.
Exactly. As much, we don't have as many jobs as Babang Bale. So you need to open up yourself and make sure that people know what it is that you are, working, how you've positioned yourself, what it is that you want to achieve. Just be open. As a humanities social science student.
All my humanities baddies, all my humanities girlies, you heard this from the best person to hear it from. Keabetswe, thank you so much for joining us today. It has been so amazing. It's been so insightful. It's been so educational. I learned so much today, and I really, really appreciate that you took your time to come and join us today. Well, that's a wrap. Thank you so much for watching Conversations with Khulisa Mfazi. We were joined by Khulisa. We were joined
Khutsoane.
by
I thought you'd say Khutsoane.
we were joined by Keabetswe Khutsoane. Thank you so much for joining. Until next time.
Thank you. Bye.